Hey everybody, happy Thursday, 10:30 Mountain Time. Yes, Leadership Boot Camp. Leadership at all levels. Tremendous frontline employees all across the RMWB. We have those of you joining us in Fort McMurray proper, but also all across the region joining us this morning for the coaching session. How are you? Are you doing well? Did you have a good long weekend just a few days ago? Was it good? What'd you do? Hang out? Do nothing? Go down to Edmonton? Fly to Cabo? What'd you do? Did you have a good time? I hope you did. Because if you were in Newfoundland, you got like 60 centimeters of snow or something like that. Crazy talk. Crazy. And it looks like next week when I'm up there with you, we're going to have a little bit of rain. So let's hold off on that. Let's bypass the rain while I'm there. Anyways, how are you? This is our coaching session. Big picture, holistic, systems thinking. Big picture, holistic, proactive, systems thinking. Taking your questions. Now, some of you have already emailed in questions, and I sincerely appreciate that. And we're going to take those questions. And then others of you, you'll choose to ask your question today by I always go the wrong way, by questions at rmwbleaders.ca. Questions at rmwbleaders.ca. Margie is monitoring the email inbox, and she's monitoring the chat box. Margie's here joining us today.
Good morning.
And Margie's here. So let's give her something to do. Fill up that chat box and that email inbox with your questions. But I do always appreciate those of you that email in the questions beforehand. That is really good because then I can prepare. Although I like the spontaneous questions as well. Okay, so big picture, holistic, proactive, systems thinking. Those are a lot of words, Ian. What do they mean? Well, if you remember from our time together, I made the assertion that there's not enough time, energy, or effort at your disposal, at my disposal, to get done everything we need to get done. There's just not enough time. And if we want to be effective today as a leader, with a title or without a title, we better have some ideas of how to deal with the dilemma of not enough time, energy, or effort to get done everything we need to get done. And I brought to your attention a mathematician. I brought to your attention an inventor, a tinkerer. I brought to your attention one of the fathers of geometry. I brought to your attention a gentleman named Archimedes, who helped me in a significant and profound and meaningful way. Archimedes called me on that day. Archimedes didn't call me. Archimedes spoke to me through the eons of history and said, "Chubby brown kid." And I said, "Yes, Archimedes." He said, "Get in the gym." No, he didn't say that. Archimedes didn't say get in the gym. Archimedes said, "Ian, give me a place to stand and I will move the world." And I said, "Archimedes, what does that mean?" And then his ghost kind of faded off. And he said, "For you to know. For you to know." Or how's that go? "For me to know and you to find out." That's what my little kids that's what my little kids say. "For me to know and you to find out." And so the ghost of Archimedes pointed at me and said, "For me to know and you to find out." Ian, are you drunk? Vanilla latte. Anyways, I'm trying to lay off caffeine, and so far today I've had a soda and a vanilla latte. It's ridiculous. Anyways, so the ghost of Archimedes said, "For you to know, for me to know, and you to find out." And so I went and found out. And you know what I found out? When he said, "Give me a place to stand and I will move the world," what he was really talking about was this. If you had the right system, fulcrum and lever, if you had the right system, compound pulley, if you had the right system, you could do just about anything, was his assertion. Well, I embraced that, and I started to look into this whole thing of systems thinking. And you know what I came to find? That the universe was a system, the solar system, and that there's ecosystem called nature. Fooled you, Jeff. And so, and that there were social systems that weren't as tangible. You know, the groups and the cliques, and you know, we just don't go to that neighborhood. because those people live there? Or those people don't come to our neighborhood because we live here? Because there's unwritten laws that we all follow? That's just kind of the way that it is? I don't know, it's just the way that it is. Aren't those systems? And that systems either organically grow up and take hold, or they're developed for a specific purpose. And that a system, simply put, was this: that you took a set of parts and put it together in some kind of sequence or deeply integrated them for a specific outcome. But that was an intentionally developed system. But that other times, those parts just kind of mingle and grow together and take hold for no intents and purpose, but they are what they are. Systems. And that in today's day and age, if we were going to be highly successful, we had to understand the concept that systems were taking hold all around us. We had to see that. We had to see that big picture. We had to think holistically. And then we had to be proactive in the development of relevant, meaningful, powerful systems that acted as force multipliers to get done everything we wanted to get done. Now, over the last couple weeks, we've tried to do all that we can to share systems with you. We primarily focused on time, which we're continuing to focus on this week through that time matrix exercise. I think we have a question about that. Yes, we do. So we have other systems that we provided on the website, right? System on delegation, a system on motivation, a system on powerful communication. Multiple systems. Because my strategy was to expose you to systems, to try to cultivate this systems thinking approach in you. Systems. If I can understand the systems concepts, if I can create and deploy systems, I can have exponential impact when I work off of a systems mentality. Imagine if we were able to improve the system for the developing of the citizen of tomorrow, the exponential impact. Or imagine if we were able to enhance the system of bringing new Canadians into our communities and helping them get up to speed and becoming tax-paying, responsible, productive citizens, getting a job and getting us, acclimated to the community and becoming a part of the fabric of the community. Or our seniors, or right? Big picture systems. Those are big picture systems. Or how about this? If I just had a system to be more effectively communicate. The exponential impact of system thinking. That's what we've been talking about. We've been focusing on time because I think that is one of those systems that would have a significant impact. If you were able to maximize the utilization of your time, who would benefit? How would they benefit? How would you benefit? Now, I know that some of you have emailed in questions prior, so we're going to get to those in just a second. Margie has those. But if you want to ask a question or you want to make a comment, keep your comments to a minimum. Unless, of course, they have to do with, you're the greatest, you're the best, love you, Ian. If they're those comments, please feel free. If they're not, keep to yourself. Anyways, questions at rmwbleaders.ca or in the chat box. Margie, hit me with the first question.
Question number one. I'm having a hard time identifying my high leverage activities.
High leverage activities. Okay, so someone's paying attention. They're participating in the emails that all went out last week, right? You got the first email that was all about, it was like a 30-minute training video on the concepts, this idea of maximizing utilization of your time. And then we broke that down. We talked about the tool that you utilize, and then we talked about planning your work and working your plan. And then on Tuesday, just 2 days ago, we sent out that email about the time matrix and tracking your time. One of the concepts that we talked about came from another mathematician. I know, I have a man crush on mathematicians. Anyways, a man crush. Anyways, Pareto, right? This guy Pareto. And what did Pareto say? Pareto said that 80% of the results come from about 20% of the activity. I called those, oh look, I have my handy dandy little board. How cool is that? he said that there was some activities that when you do them, you get a greater, right, impact. He said there were other activities that when you do them, you get less impact. How'd you like to be that guy right there? Not good. Now the question that you're asking revolves around Grady, and I get that part, but I don't get how I identify these big activities. Okay, here's how you do it. You stop and you say to yourself, what's that activity that I can do that gets done like 2 or 3 or 4 things at once? Let's start personal first. What's that activity that when you do it brings you calm and peace? It gives you, it recharges you, it re-energizes you. It's that thing that when you do it, you come out refreshed. Well, don't you think you should probably do that regularly? Don't you think that that should be something that you probably do often? Don't you think that that's probably something you should do on a regular basis? So for you and for me, we have to take a good hard look at our personal life. So a high leverage activity in our personal life might be that activity that re-energizes, refreshes, centers, and grounds us. You know what it is for me? Working out. Working out does that. If I put an hour into working out, I get all of that wrapped up in 1 hour. Now, maybe that's not for you. Maybe going for a walk or reading a book or relaxing on the couch or spending some time with your spouse or whatever it is. Covey said it pretty well when he talked about sharpening the saw. He used the lumberjack. You know, old lumberjacks, they used to use that big saw, you know, two-man saw. And they would have to chop down a whole a forest, and they would, whatever that noise is, we need to stop that noise, whatever that noise is. Are you picking that up or no? Okay, so never mind. So that they would chop down the tree with that two-man saw, and they had a whole forest to do. And young guys would just attack it and attack it and attack it. And the old guys knew that they would need to stop every couple trees and sharpen that saw back up. And the young guys would say, hey, we don't have time. We don't have time to sharpen this saw. We got a whole forest to do. Let's get it done. And the old guys would say, you know what, you're going to take twice as much time if you don't sharpen that saw. That was a point that Covey was making. So the high leverage activity in your own life might be that activity that sharpens that saw, your saw, because it then has exponential impact in all the other aspects of your life. You're more fresh, you're more fit, you're more focused, you're more all those things, you're more grounded, you're less irritable, yada, 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 yada. But I don't have time to do it. Well, in light of what I just described, you don't have time not to do it. Okay, let's look within your workplace. Maybe there's some activities that actually allow you to do 2, 3, 4, 5 things at once. I always use this example because it's very obvious. Managers meeting with their people one-on-one. Managers meeting with their people one-on-one. Managers always say, I need to meet with my people. I need to talk to my people. I need to spend some time with my people. But I'm so busy with paperwork, and I'm so busy with this, and I'm so busy with that, I'm so busy with this, and I'm so busy with that. I don't have time to do it. But what they would if they would stop and think, what they would realize is meeting with that individual person, one, helps them understand the person to a deeper degree, understand how to motivate them, what makes them tick, what makes them go, and so on. Meeting with that person helps them check performance standards, communicate expectations, develop a sense of pride. How about this? Helps them identify any problems that might suck their time 2 and 3 and 4 weeks from now. So in that meeting one-on-one with an employee, they can do 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 things in that one 45-minute session. So that 45 minutes is like doing 2 and 3 hours of other stuff. And yet, what's the one thing that managers complain about? I don't have enough time to get with my people. Oh, I need to meet with my people. I need to spend time. I know I need to spend time with my people. Well, what I found is as soon as I made the commitment to utilize that high leverage activity of meeting with my people, all of a sudden, other issues and challenges began to reduce because I had proactively identified the high return on investment activity. Same is true with your kids. What are those activities where you are able to teach, you're able to share, you're able to learn, you're able to understand? Going to the movies is probably not a high return on investment activity. Why is that? Well, you don't get to have a conversation. Oh, you've shared some time. You sat in the movie theater, but was it high return on investment activity? You know, utilizing a family example again, you know, we found that the highest return on investment activity that we can do is having dinner together. The preparing and then eating of supper together is a high return on investment activity. We get to talk with the kids, we get to share, we get to understand, we get to share expectations, we get to build memories, all around that experience of making the meal and then sitting down and eating the meal. Now, oftentimes in today's hectic life, we say this: we don't have time to make supper tonight, let's just grab something. Pop it in the microwave, come on, hurry up, we gotta go. But if you take a step back and you think about all the things that could be accomplished at the supper table, it's actually an incredible time of investment. I feel urgency addicted. I'm urgency addicted. We got to go, 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 go. And that's some of the challenge that you face, is that we all are, to a degree or another, urgency addicted. So instead of focusing on those high return on investment activities, we focus on those things that give us that instant. That's why for some of you, you can answer 100 emails in a day, feel like, and be exhausted, but you look back and go, did I accomplish anything today? You did a lot of work, you put in a lot of effort, but you produced limited results. That's what Pareto was saying, that there are certain activities that produce greater results. He called them high leverage. I call them high return on investment activities, because we're using that money metaphor, 86,400 seconds or dollars in a day. And so I'm attempting to invest them wisely by proactively identifying those activities. And I have a system for doing so. What's the system? Well, we talked about it in video. I outline the goals I have for my life. I outline the roles that I have within those goals. I identify those high return on investment activities. I identify the low return on investment activities. And notice I'm doing that proactively. I have some kind of tool that I can utilize, which we talked about last week. Then I build my plan and work my plan. Build my plan, work my plan. And every Sunday night or early Monday morning, I sit down and map out my week. And the first thing I block in, utilizing the time blocking technique, making an appointment with myself, I block in the activities that I know provide the highest return. That way they don't get missed. I block them in. Then I block in those things that I know are going to happen, meetings and the like. And then I block in those things I can assume are going to happen. Phone calls, email, returning phone calls, emails and the like. I'm going to shy away from the urgency addiction. Responding to every email right away. Responding to every phone call. Picking up every phone. Do I need to answer every phone, or can I let it go to voicemail? You know the funny thing about letting it go to voicemail? The advantage of letting it go to voicemail is that when I return the call, I'm prepared. I got all the information I need. It might reduce the phone conversation from 30 minutes to 15. Just a thought. So then I ensure that my daily, then I build in the things I can assume. That approach, that system, gives me a significantly greater fighting chance that my daily and weekly activity is in alignment with my long-term goal. If I want to go somewhere with life, then I got to make sure today is in alignment. Now, and that's an important concept, the concept of alignment. Are my daily activities in alignment? So the high leverage activity identification has to then be followed up with making sure that those are happening. They are in alignment. You ever had your back out of alignment? What's that feel like? How about your car being out of alignment? how much money and time and energy and wear and tear because your car is out of alignment. Significant. So for you and for me, we are seeking alignment. Alignment of our daily activity with our long-term goals. Is it about how brilliant I am? Is it about how talented I am? Is it about how many breaks I get that help me get to my goal? Well, maybe. I don't know. I know this, though. I got a greater likelihood of reaching my goals if my daily activity is in alignment with my long-term plans or my long-term hopes and aspirations. I really do not. You know, somebody says to me, I can't do this, I can't do that, we can't achieve this, I can't achieve that. And I say, well, where's your time going? Where's your time going? And how much of that time is in alignment with your long-term goals? All right. Next question, Margie.
Next question. How do you use the delegation matrix?
How do you use the delegation matrix? So somebody took the time to watch the supplemental video. Remember I told you we were going to put a bunch of videos up that weren't necessarily as a part of our teaching. In other words, we were going to provide you numerous systems for you to take a look at. Numerous systems for you to evaluate. Numerous systems for you to put in your toolkit. And we put a system up with the system of motivation, which we had talked about. System of motivation up there. We put the system of effective communication on there. We put a system of delegation. So obviously this person watched that video, which is awesome. So I think the question revolves around the practical application. So the challenge with delegation and why I think it's so important. So why do I think it's so important and its challenge? Why I think it's so important is because there's only two ways to get things done. Either you're going to do it or I'm going to do it. That's it. Either you're going to do it or I'm going to do it. No more. That's all there is. You, me, that's it. Poor delegation sounds something like this. Why aren't you doing that? Or it sounds something like this. I can't believe they're asking me to do this. Or it sounds something like this. How come they never let me do anything? Or it sounds like something like this. Why aren't you ever doing anything? Those are all the manifestations of poor delegation. Here's another one. Why am I always being asked to help? Or how about this? How come you're always in my business? Leave me alone. Stop micromanaging me. All manifestations of poor delegation. So the practical application of this delegation matrix takes into consideration that the inherent need for effective delegation and the inherent challenges of attempting to delegate. You're going to do it, I'm going to do it. I don't let you do it because you're going to screw it up, or at least I perceive that you may. And so I don't want to give you a chance. So I then get overwhelmed, feel like I'm doing it all by myself. But if I give you something and then you go screw it up, you just reinforce that I'm not going to give anybody anything and I'm going to do it on my own. It's just easier to do it myself. It's just easier. Do it myself. Okay, great. Except, you know, you're walking around like this. And it's completely unsustainable. So, we think there has to be a system for effective delegation. And we think that the system has to be proficiency-based. So your question, what do you do with it? So what I would do with it is this. Anybody that I'm leading, and whether that's formally or informally, I would come to them and say this. I've done a poor job around here. I haven't been as good as I could have been because we don't have a good system for delegation. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? And the stuff in between. So we're going to change that today. And then I would move into the system that we've talked about. Now, simply put, what I would say to them is this. There are some things that you're really, really good at. There's some things that you need to improve on, just like me. There's some things I'm really good at, some things I need to improve on. And then there's some things that are kind of in between. What we're going to do is, you and I, Bob, we'll call it Bob. Bob, you and I are going to look at everything you do, and we're going to piece it out. And in those areas where you're not as good as you want to be, I'm going to be more directly involved. in those areas where you're great, I'm going to be not involved at all. Because I could have been doing this better in the past, and I'm sorry that I haven't. So then what you do is, again, the handy dandy board here, you take everything that Bob does and you'd list it. And then you would put those things into 4 categories. Four categories. The first, and all categories based on proficiency. So the first category is going to be ask and recommend. Ask and recommend. Now, here's the story with ask and recommend. The story with ask and recommend is you're not so great at it. And because you're not so great at it, I'm going to be there for you. Now, it's not that you're bad or a horrible person. It's just maybe you don't have the experience, you haven't done it very often, whatever. You just, whatever reason, you're not so great. And so you're going to ask and recommend. Now, why are you going to ask? Well, because I want to know you're doing it so I can help you. But notice recommend. You're going to give me your wisdom, your insight, so I can see your thought process. And then you and I can make sure we're on the same page, Bob, of your thought process. So we go through the list and we identify those ones. And we drop those into that bucket. Then we look at the stuff that's left. And we start to pick out those things that you're okay at. Not great, not bad, just okay. And we're going to call that act and report immediately. Act and report immediately. So act and report immediately. So in those areas, you're okay. And then we're going to go to see what's left, and then we're going to put it into the next one. If you're fairly proficient, act and report periodically. Now, what's the story on that? Well, you're pretty good, but I want to be kept in the loop. And then anything that's left is going to go into act on own. Right? Act on own. You're great at it. Don't even talk to me about it. Now, what does it do? Me as the leader, it focuses my attention where it needs to be, and it leaves them to do what they know how to do. It frees up time in my week for sure, and it gets me off their back because I'm only involved where I need to be. It also sets up a dynamic where I'm here to grow them. Now, back to your question in the practical application. So I'm going to sit down and go through it with them so we mutually agree. Well, what if they say, Ian, Bob says, Ian, I think I can act on own, and you wanted to put, act and report immediately. I think I can do it. Let them go. Okay, cool. Go for it. Because you see, we're going to regularly review this. Let's say every 120 days. So 3 times a year, we're going to sit down and go through it. And if they've been great at it, we're going to leave it there. Awesome. Act on own, continue, you were right. If they're not so great, we might move it back. But it's always going to be proficiency-based. Always going to be proficiency-based. It has to be a living, breathing tool. It's not a static tool. We do it one time and leave it there and it collects dust. It's ever evolving, ever growing. And there may be some situations where we have to move something back. You know what? That hasn't gone so well over the last 120 days. Let's move that back into ask and recommend. And in the category of ask and recommend, I can coach you a little bit more. So it changes the dynamic. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you. And I'm only going to help and support you in those areas we mutually agree that you need some help and support. In the other areas, go do your thing. This is true empowerment. So to the person that asked the question, if you really want to empower another human being, here's empowerment. Without hanging them out to dry, without setting them up for failure, without putting them in a dynamic where they might stumble and no one's around. Well, you can't protect everybody. Well, I'm not saying that, but I sure want to mitigate their risk. Aren't I better served with them having a track record of being successful? I think so. So you regularly review it, maybe every 120 days or whatever. It's a living, breathing document. And finally, if they're in act on own, you need to let them act on own. You need to let them act on own, period. Let them act on own. Okay, so that's the practical application. For those of you that haven't watched the video, it's in the portal there. You can see it. It says delegation matrix, and you can take advantage of it, and the handout is there as well. All right, next question.
Next question. Explain the meaning of the time matrix exercise.
All right, the time matrix exercise. Explain the meaning of the time matrix exercise. Well, here's the funny thing. Tomorrow morning, you're going to get about a 17, 18-minute video that's going to explain the time matrix exercise. Now, on Tuesday, when you came back from the long weekend, there was an email. And that email encouraged you, right? It encouraged you. And it said this. It said, hey, I want you to track your time. On Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I want you to track your time. I want you to see where your time goes. And so I gave you that sheet, and you were supposed to print one out for each day. Well, tomorrow morning, you're going to get a video that will explain what that means. Now, I'm not trying to skirt your question. I'm just saying tomorrow morning, you're going to get a video that explains what it means. I will say this, though. The purpose of the exercise was for you to really figure out where your time goes. Now, a couple of you emailed me and said, oh, wow, I already do this because we do utilization tracking of our time, and we want to see where we're at on projects and how much time is allocated to this project and that project. And that's good. That is analysis. And that is, to an extent, what we're doing. But we're going to be using the analysis to check and see, are we utilizing those high leverage activities? Do you see in your week any of those high leverage activities that I had asked you to write down previously? If the answer is no, what can you derive from that? You can come to the conclusion that I'm in trouble. Because the likelihood of me getting to my long-term goals is probably minimal because I'm not regularly doing those high leverage activities. And what is stealing your time? As I said a moment ago, am I spending hours on email? And I'm doing a lot of work, but I'm not really moving forward. In other words, I'm putting in a lot of energy, but it's not taking me anywhere. And then finally, the exercise can help us be a springboard to moving forward, to break the cycle, to help us be a tool for change. Remember that change continuum. Am I willing? Education, understanding. So this is education and understanding. It's an actual physical tool that I can utilize to gain information, education, and then I can synthesize it and understand it so that then I can build a plan. Because next week, what I'm going to encourage you to do is project your plan. So you analyzed over a 4 or 5 day period where your time went. Now let's use that information and project our plan forward. So again, you're going to get an email tomorrow morning about what it could mean to you. But those are some of the reasons behind it. Now look, we got 11 minutes left. We got 11 minutes left. Questions at RMWB-LEADERS.ca. Your managers and leaders that we just talked with a few minutes ago, they asked a question with 30 seconds to go. So don't do that. Ask the question now. Margie's in the chat box. Or you can ask it questions at RMWB-LEADERS.ca. And through the speed of light, the question will go bing in the inbox. And then Margie will read it. She's only read 3 questions today. I mean, come on. How much fun is that? All right. Commitment. Huh? Yeah, commitment. Remember? Hello, 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 holla. Commitment. If you recall, a few short days ago, I sent out a link that said make your commitment. Now, a couple things on that. One, if you don't make a commitment, then you cannot get a certificate of completion. That's just period. You may get a certificate of participation, but you're not going to get a certificate of completion if you don't do the main exercise, which is make a commitment. Now, whether you're able to fulfill that commitment in the balance of our time is inconsequential. I just want you to make a commitment and start working on it. Now, here's the thing that I know about Tuesday afternoon when we all meet at, 1 o'clock to 2:45 or whatever it is that we meet. Here's the one thing I know. I know our numbers will be down. Why is that? Well, it's because I'm challenging everybody on making a commitment. And so when you challenge people on making a commitment, here's what happens. Some people do, some people don't. Some people intend to and don't, and those are the people that won't show up because they don't want to make eye contact with me. Because they know they needed to make a commitment, and they haven't. So don't be one of those people. If you haven't made your commitment, no big deal. I'm not the taskmaster. I'm not the schoolmaster, the school marm. I am this. I'm just encouraging you because I know that it is a high leverage activity. It's a high return on investment activity. Think about it. If you actually take the time to think about how you can improve, send out a survey to ask people what they think, and then take the time to agree that you're going to work on something, take the time to build a plan and then try to work to the plan and achieve that goal, think about all of the skills that you're working on there. Think about all of the positive impact that could occur, not just through your own personal growth, but the trust that you build with those individuals, on and on and on. It is definitely a high leverage activity. And in today's day and age, it's very, very rare. It's very, very rare that somebody will, without a crisis, change. Very rare. In deep and profound ways. Now, some of you have sent in commitments, and some of you I've responded to, and some of you I have not. But all of you I'll get back to before we see on Tuesday. And those of you that have made your commitments, some are big and some not so much. And the ones that are not so much, that was based on what you said to me. Well, this isn't that big, is it okay? And I would say in response to those people and all of the people, every commitment is worthy and important because it is a high leverage activity. So I'm not just looking at the thing you say you're going to get better at. I'm looking at the residual positive impact that can come from you working on getting better at something. The development of self-esteem, the development of self-worth, the development of the skills of change, on and on and on, let alone that you got better at that one thing. Now, not to be melodramatic in any way, but remember I had mentioned to you, hey, who are the three, write down the three names. Who are the three names of the people? Who are the three names of the people whose lives would be better if you got better? So that can be an extra motivator for you. Oh, so this is that tough part, right? This is where that rubber meets the road. This is where that, put up or shut up. Now, again, it's not to be intimidating. It's not to be, what's the word I want? In your face. It's not to be that. It does come off being somewhat confrontational in the sense that it challenges a person. It is challenging you, but it's not meant to be disrespectful or demonstrative in any way. It's just meant to say, I know for a fact, if you'll pick out one thing, if you work at getting better at it, and if you're able to get better at it, that will have a significant positive impact in you and those around you. So take the time to make the commitment. Now here's the other final thing. We don't have much time left. What do you mean? 2 more sessions. 6 weeks, basically, is what we got. We don't have much time left. And in a few short days, towards the end of June, we're going to be handing out certificates. And they're either going to be certificates of completion or certificates of participation. And that's it. And then some people won't get any certificates at all. And that's life. On a whole nother note, you may have seen EDSS sent out a note saying there's these mini boot camps that are going on. That's not for you. Mini boot camps. The reason we're doing the mini boot camps is because there was a significant number of people who said they were not able to participate in this boot camp for whatever reason. And I always feel bad if somebody can't, whatever, fill in the blank, they can't. So I had some extra time on a couple of those evenings, and I said to Sadir and Brian and Glenn and the others, I said, you know what, rather than sitting in my hotel room, we'll just let people come. And we'll just do a mini version where we review some very specific information. So you don't need to participate in that. You could if you wanted. The information will be somewhat similar to what we're talking about. Well, it will be similar. I mean, you could come. I don't think you need to. But I mean, if you're a junkie, come on down. If you're a professional development junkie, come on down. So that's what that's all about when you see it. Now, if you have coworkers that couldn't get in leadership boot camp for whatever reason, they couldn't get in, they wanted to get in, but they couldn't get in, for whatever reason, this is the outlet for them. I don't know if we're doing this again. I doubt that we are. I don't think that we're doing boot camp. At least we're not doing it anytime soon. I've done it now 30 weeks, right? Over the last 40 weeks, we've done 30 weeks of this over the last 40 weeks. So, you know, I think you all, you know, RMWB probably needs, and Fort McMurray needs a break of Ian, and Ian needs a break of doing this program. It's not to say I'm not excited about it. It's just that I don't see it happening again. So if you have coworkers, if you have friends, if you have whatever that weren't able to take advantage of this, encourage them to do so. Well, what if I have someone that I know that is out in the community, not an RMWB employee? They can participate. Just look at the flyer and the thing that's been posted around. Okay. All right. Any other questions, Marge? All right. Since there's no other questions, we got about 2 minutes to go. But if there's no other questions, I'm going to let you get on with your day, and I'll get on with mine. We thank you for your hard work. We thank you for your dedication and commitment to purpose. Do that time matrix exercise. If you haven't started it yet, you could do it next week. The email will come out of what it means, and we'll all get together next Tuesday at around 1 o'clock, okay? Take care, everybody. See you. Have a great weekend.